Fuji Guys.
Fuji Guys.
Got a great video today, Billy. You might be wondering about all this decorations we've got for Valentine's Day. Well, it is that time of the year, and Valentine's often enough brings us into situations where the light is low, the mood's romantic, and we want to talk about taking pictures in low light. So that's always been the challenge for photographers is, if you don't have enough light, you have to make up for it somehow, because photography is all about having light. But you can get some of the greatest pictures when the light is not great, and we're going to talk about how you can get those great pictures today. So normally, if I got an automatic camera and I get into a situation where the light gets a little bit low, what's going to happen, Billy?
The flash is going to go off, Greg, and basically that's 9 out of 10 times that's what's going to happen, and your picture is going to look like any other flash shots that you've taken in the dark. Okay. A lot of times the background is dark.
Right.
Subject's nice and sharp and everything like that, but again, it doesn't have that nice ambient look to it. But
right.
If you are doing flash photography in low light, some tips that you can use is making sure that you're within range of the flash. These type of compact camera, the flash is not very large,
right.
So make sure that the subject is within range. You can do things like increase the ISO or the sensitivity
which
of
will
the camera,
extend the range of the flash.
Which extends the range of the flash. And that's actually a nice little feature as well in the flash called the slow synchro flash mode. And it's usually indicated with an S symbol, S letter, and a lightning symbol. And that just uses a slower shutter speed as well as using the flash on top of that, and so that it captures the ambient light. Even though the flash
so it lights up my subject in the foreground, plus I get the light in the background has time to expose onto the camera.
So those are good tips of just using the flash. Of course, like Greg was mentioning, the best type of pictures you can get sometimes is just by using the available light, shooting in low light.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you one more tip about using the flash before we move on to my favorite subject, available light, is all you people out there, make sure you don't put your finger in front of the flash. I have to warn my own friends and family all the time, and it dramatically affects the quality. Mainly it's underexposed, or there's even half a dark part in your picture.
It makes the flash effectiveness be zero.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is keep our fingers away from the flash, I guess, is our last tip. Now let's get on to my favorite subject. When you take a picture without a flash, Billy, there's certainly some challenges, but there's certainly some rewards as well. When you use a flash, you often enough get those dark backgrounds. You get, pasty white, overexposed subjects in the foreground. You get red eyes from the flash.
That's right.
You get often enough very harsh shadows if you're standing close to a white background. There's all kinds of things that I don't like about flash photography. So I have to say that whenever I get a chance, I try to take a picture without a flash. But with a lot of experience, I know some of the things to do, and that's what we want to help these people with today. So let's talk about some of those challenges with low light, with no flash, and what do we do to overcome them? Well,
number one thing what the camera is going to do when the flash is turned off is that it's going to adjust for that by decreasing the shutter speed on the camera. And so what that does, it allows the camera to capture more light. But what happens is the longer the shutter is open, any movement in your hand, any movement in the subject, it's going to capture that. Okay. And so you get blur.
So subject or blur, just in general, from either moving the camera or the subject moving, is going to create a blurry picture, and that you're in danger of getting that. Okay. So what do we do really to cure that problem?
A couple of quick tips. Increase the ISO again.
Okay.
And by bumping up the ISO, the sensitivity of the camera, you gain faster shutter speeds, and that prevents camera shake.
And even subject
movement as well.
So if I bump my ISO up to, say, from the normal, which would be 200 or something, up to 400 or 800 or even 1600, some of these cameras have settings on. What are some of the potential downsides to that? Because otherwise we tell people to shoot at 1600 all the time, maybe.
Well, the downsides of increasing the sensitivity on the camera really is that you introduce more and more noise.
Okay.
It's like a radio, Greg, and as you turn the volume louder and higher, the music gets louder, but it also gets more distorted to a certain point.
Right.
So that's what happens, just like a digital camera as well.
So just like in radios then, there's better radios that have less distortion. Is it the same true with cameras?
Absolutely. So having the right equipment can make a world of difference when taking pictures in low light. And that's why Fuji's EXR technology in our cameras really accentuate how good you can take pictures, just like some of the larger equipment like SLR cameras that have bigger sensors.
Okay. So I think what I've learned now about if I want to turn off the flash and I want to capture the natural ambience of the picture, or the scene rather, I'm going to watch out for camera shake and subject movement by having either the camera as steady as possible or possibly a higher shutter speed. The way to get the higher shutter speed maybe might be to bump my high ISO up a little bit more.
That's right.
And so I think we've learned a few things, but I think we need to put some of this to practice. So why don't we just turn off the lights here and take a few pictures using some of the tips we've used.
Go.
So now we're basically running on candlelight here. And I got a little beautiful scene set up here for our available light scene. I'll just put one more candle
we go.
over there. So take a picture with a flash, Billy, just the way a typical person would, and the camera's on automatic.
Okay.
So first thing that's going to happen, he's going to turn this on, take a picture, and
there you go. Perfect.
Okay, and this is a little bit washed out in the background, it's a little bit dark. Okay,
right.
So try that slow synchro flash mode.
Okay, let's try that again. There you go, a lot better. Absolutely a lot better there.
Okay, so slow synchro flash. Now I want to take one more out of this, and there's a special setting on most Fuji cameras called Available Light Plus Flash. And Billy's going to put it on this setting.
There we go.
And when you can't quite decide, should I use a flash, should I not use a flash, there's a setting on this camera. He's going to press the button once, and that camera actually took 2 pictures. One without the flash, and one with flash, and we can compare them. So so that's great. So let's be brave now. Turn off that flash. We're going to take a picture of the same scene. There's not much light in here. I'm going to have to watch out. So Billy, you're going to have to hold that camera steady and take this picture. And you're holding the camera just so steady. What ISO sensitivity setting was the camera?
It was on 100. Greg.
100. Well, I'm afraid to say, Billy, with that low shutter speed, I can already see that there's some camera blur on that one.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to see on the screen, but when you do download it to the computer,
when you see it larger, you really see that.
You will see some of the blur.
So why don't you raise that ISO up to what you said? Like, let's try it at 800 ISO now and see what that looks like.
See if the shutter speed's a lot faster. There you go.
Okay.
Beautiful.
That one looks very nice by comparison. It's very sharp. That's a good camera. Let's enlarge it a little bit. I think I see a tiny bit of noise in the background of the picture. Now that's not bad for 800. Absolutely. That's very good for this camera considering it's a compact camera. But let's use a special mode on this camera. We have a special mode called the Pro Low Light mode. Why don't you set that Pro Low Light mode right now.
Okay.
And we're going to take a picture of the same scene. It's going to take 4 pictures, so I think you're going to have to hold the camera steady, maybe even on a small tripod or something like that.
Okay, so let me set that up to the Pro Low Light, which is in our scene position. It's on the f70, and of course, my trusty tripod I got around with me all the time. Anytime you're taking pictures in low light, it's always good to have a nice tripod around with you. So let me get that all set up. Perfect. What I'm actually going to do too is because on a tripod, anytime you push the button and because it's low light, you can get the low blur. So I set it up to a 2-second self timer as well.
Great idea.
So that when I push the button, hands off.
Heard that camera go off 4 times. In the Pro Low Light mode, it takes 4 pictures. It puts them together. My goodness, that's amazing. Really now we've got the cleanest noise-free picture of a low light situation. It's comparable to an SLR in fact in quality, and although that feature, the last one we showed you, is only available on a few of our cameras, most notably the F70 that we're using, the F80 and the S200 so far. So hopefully you've picked up some great tips for low light photography, and until our next video, I'm Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And together we're the Fuji Guys.
Guys.